It is not safe, in fact, to live in Malaysia if you're like openly a trans girl. Malaysian government discharged more than 100 police officers to go after Nur Sajat. Even with me wearing feminine attire would cause so much controversy in that school. Even if you're able to enter the school, the opportunities given to you are still limited. Hi guys, so right now I am just filming this video on a whim because I honestly do not know what to talk about. So if you guys don't know, I am a transgender woman and currently I've been living in the Philippines, but I have lived my whole life in Malaysia. So technically I know how it feels like to live as a transgender woman in Malaysia. And since nobody really want to talk about it, and I don't feel like there are enough discussion about trans women's experience in Malaysia. So for context, I am talking from my own personal experience. Every trans girl has their own personal experience. I am probably privileged enough to say that I still have my family who supports me financially, emotionally, whatever aspect in life. I still have my family to support me, I have my friends. But for most trans girls, that's not always the case. A lot of trans girls, especially in Malaysia, are being disowned by their own families because of the fact that they're trans. Because of that, I just want to say that this experience comes from a position of privilege. There are trans girls who have had worse experiences than me. So let's cut the bullshit and say that no, Malaysia is not the most LGBTQ plus friendly country in the world. In fact, a lot of trans people are being ostracized by the community. It is not safe, in fact, to live in Malaysia if you're like openly a trans girl, especially if you're Muslim, I think. If you're Muslim, there's like a separate law that would penalize you if you're trans. And socially, it is not an environment where it is safe for us to live as trans women. I feel like when people know that we're trans, the implication of that would be mostly negative. I guess the only time where people in general accept you for who you are in Malaysia is when you are funny, it's when you are good at makeup, it's when you're good at hair. That's when I guess people would probably tolerate you to a certain extent because in a way it benefits a lot of those people. Like for example, if you're funny, you make them laugh. If you're good at makeup, you could help them with makeup, especially for wedding, even hairstyle. So that benefits people in general. But in many cases, in many situations, they wouldn't. Like if, for example, a trans girl got murdered at the side of the road, who the fuck would want to talk about that? Except for trans women themselves. Nobody would give a shit about trans girls dying, trans girls fucking got sexually assaulted. But if we ever get assaulted and that news reaches the news media, guess what would be the headline? I dare you to guess. Do you ever think they would refer to us as women? They would always refer to us or describe us in the newspaper as a man in a woman's clothes. I can go on and on how derogatory the headlines are because people are not educated with the proper terms to refer to trans women and they could never ever recognize us as women in the name of their religion. I don't know why they like to push their religion to us as if we all believe the same thing. And if we ever want to report the assault to officers, they would never take us seriously because they perceive that us being transgender is already wrong. So the advice that they would give us is to not be transgender. Like they would say things like, if you don't want to be assaulted, if you don't want to be made fun of, if you don't want to be bullied, then don't be transgender. Even Nisha Ayub, I think she got acknowledged by like the International Council. She was internationally awarded, but nobody talks about it. Nur Sajat, she's a trans woman. She has a successful business empire in Malaysia. I think there were more than 100 police officers who are after her because of the fact that she's trans. She wore female attire. She wore some feminine attire for some Muslim prayer. And then after that, someone reported that incident to the religious authorities, and they discharged more than 100 police officers to go after this poor girl, Nur Sajat. And then she had to seek asylum in different countries. I think she sought for asylum in Thailand, but then Malaysian government was still discussing about like wanting the Thai government to like give Nur Sajat back to Malaysia. Yeah, but then it was dropped, I think, and she had to seek for asylum in Australia instead. I think that's when she got accepted. So imagine that Malaysian government discharged more than 100 police officers to go after Nur Sajat, whereas there are a lot of more serious cases happening in Malaysia, like rape, child marriage. Even like teachers are making inappropriate jokes in school, in front of students, in front of minors. And the government didn't care. Even the school was like going against the student who reported. I think there was like an incident about a teacher in this one school was making like rape jokes in front of a group of students, and then this one girl reported it, and then the teacher sued the student for libelous claims or something. So being transgender in Malaysia is a big deal. For example, if you're a trans girl, let's just say you would steal a candy from a store. In the government's eye, it feels like you are raping an innocent child. That's how Malaysians view you if you committed crime. Again, I want to reiterate that I come from a position of privilege. So with my mom's support or with my parents' support, I am able to continue my studies in Malaysia and the Philippines. I am currently in the Philippines and I have graduated with Bachelor's of Arts in Communications. So she is a degree holder. So yeah, with that being said, if I were to pursue my education in a government university in Malaysia, best believe that bitches in those schools would treat me with hostility. Even with me wearing feminine attire would cause so much controversy in that school. And that's just me wearing feminine attire. Imagine the sort of discrimination I would have to endure if I were to be in those state or government universities. Girl, my experience would be fucking tragic. And sometimes it could probably lead you to expulsion. That's why a lot of trans women don't really go to school, because they do not want to go through that and they do not want to wear guys' clothes. And on top of that, of course, there are bullying, sexual assault, and there wouldn't be much opportunity for trans women to grow in that sort of environment. So what they usually resort to is sex work. That's why instead, I went to a private university, and it's very expensive. I mean, the university was huge, okay? And it felt like I was the only trans girl in school. I thought I was gonna be alone throughout my years in the university because everyone felt normal. Everyone seems very straight, like very like according to the norm type of people. But thank God I met my best friends there. And mind you, these girls have never met anyone LGBT before until they met me. And yet they are still able to be respectful with me as a woman. And if they could do that, you have no excuse to be disrespectful towards people in general. And with that being said, my experience in college is not always rainbows and glitters. I still face some sort of discrimination, except that it is not directly happening to my face. So it's like I had to figure it out why people are treating me this way. It's not like they call me a faggot right in front of my face. No, it's more indirect. Let's just say that Even if you're able to enter the school, the opportunities given to you are still limited because of the fact that you're trans. Let me elaborate. Let's just say that you're trans and you like sports. What makes you think that they will ever want to recruit you in their team? They would try to be nice about it when they want to reject you. They would say things like, "Oh, sorry, our members are full. We don't have any spaces for like other members already because we have too many people joining the sports." They would say shit like that, but then they would still recruit other people. Not only sports, but also like in other participations. I joined theater, and the most main role I could get was being a supportive role. I could never be the main role. Okay, it might sound petty because every project or every acting gig, the casting directors have a specific character in mind and they hope to find actors who match specific character descriptions of what they have planned beforehand. But in my case, they limit me as a transgender character. Honestly, I am more than just being transgender. I know that for some roles, I know deep down that I can play them better. But I guess it is what it is. I mean, I don't want to be petty about it. And at the end of the day, it's just acting and it's not that deep. And when we're discussing for a group project, if you are not loud enough, bitches won't listen to you because you're trans. That's how I became an overachiever because like I pretty much had to prove myself that I was worthy. There were many instances, like for example, if our group had to present, there would be people who would say things like, "Are you sure you could present this? It's okay, I could take over." They would say shit like that, or they wouldn't like listen to you. They wouldn't hear your opinions. And that is just the participation, yeah. How students treat you is another story. Like how your peers treat you is another story. So me, personally, I feel like I am a decent person. I don't think I'm the type of person who likes to cause commotion. And I would only speak to people whom I'm close to. So if you're not part of my circle, I would only talk to you if it's necessary. Even so, people would still manage to find reasons to hate me, regardless of their gender, boys or girls. They would still find excuses to hate me, to talk shit about me. I don't know why do they do that, but after analyzing everything, it's because I'm trans. For example, let's just say that you are suggesting something in a group, right? You're suggesting something. This is what they would do. Excuse me, can we start with the work? Bitch, are you deaf? Excuse me. Can we start with the work? Can we talk about it later? Why not now? Yeah, can we talk about it later? I will literally fuck your dad right now. Oh yeah, anyways, do you guys have any suggestions? And there I was looking stupid as hell. But then after all of those experiences, there was one incident that stood out to me the most. So, okay, let's just say I was classmates with this one guy. He was really tall. He was like 6'5", 6'6". Whenever he tried to enter somewhere, he had to bow his head down. So, jadikan. He would always text my friend. He didn't know she was my friend. So he would always text my friend like, "Oh my god, he is so annoying. Can he shut the fuck up?" And it was the time when a teacher from my class was asking me my opinion about something. I forgot. But then he texted my friend wanting me to shut the fuck up. And then whenever like my friends posted me on their stories, on their Snapchat, like there was one time my friend typed like, I think her caption was like, "She's late," or something, I forgot. But there was the word "she" that refers to me, and this guy replied to the story and said, "You mean he?" Question mark. And then whenever the teacher misgenders me in class, he would always laugh. And then whenever like we're grouped together in class, he would openly protest. He didn't say why, but he would openly protest against it. I mean, not that I want to be in a group with him, but like, okay, thanks. I went to a better group though. It was a roller coaster experience. But then, of course, I actually like my college experience because of the people that I met, mostly. So, yeah. But could the experience be better for me? Yes. Yes, it could. But then again, the reason why I'm able to pursue my education is because I had the support from my family. I think the majority of us, or the majority of trans girls, are disowned. And for them to be accepted back into the family, they had to pretty much prove themselves that they are beneficial for the family. So I have this one friend. We were in the same high school together. I'm not gonna name her, but if you know, you know. So, whenever her mom saw her with us, or with our group of friends, she would like audibly criticize her in front of us, saying like, "Kenapa juga kamu keluar sama dorang? Bagus kau na balik," gitu-gitulah. It was more like that. Like she would say like, "Oh, if you like to hang out with them, don't even think about coming home." And she would talk shit about her all throughout her neighborhood, saying like, our friend group was a bad influence. You know, like because of her decision of hanging out with us. Look at her right now. She's acting very feminine, very flamboyant, blah 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 blah. But then the thing is, when I saw her way of treating the family, I felt bad because she did a lot of the housework. She carried water, she washed clothes, she cooked. She helped out a lot in the household, and yet she never received the appreciation that she deserved. And right now that she earns a lot. Let's just say that she earns a lot. She's mukhang pretty rich, tapi di macam she can afford things right now. I admire her because she could forgive her family so easily that even after the way her family treated her, she could still renovate her family's apartment. She could still buy her stepsisters laptops. She bought her mom a car. And even after all of what she has done to the family, the acceptance was not 100% yet, because like I think I heard her family's advising her kununla. It's like advising her that she needs to change. Actually, talking about this makes me sad because like she really deserves better. And again, like I said, people are cruel to you if they know that you're trans. Especially when you are still starting out. People in Malaysia are fucking cruel. Like if you're trans, if you're watching this and if you haven't transitioned, be prepared because you know how most trans girls, they have a beginning phase. I will show you how I look like in the start of my transition. Like we all have that phase. Okay, not all, but generally we all have that phase. Macam very androgyny. When you are at that stage, when you are at that part of transition, you are vulnerable to mockery, to like people laughing at you, people would honk you and scream slurs to your face. So itu sajalah, be prepared for that. Even though that's how we look in the beginning of our transition, girl, trust the process. Like, you look like that in the beginning of your transition, it means that as time passes by or as time goes by, if you're consistent, you're gonna be a beautiful goddess. And that is a fact. Okay, I might be biased, but like, yeah, how to say, like, after that, you would glow up into, like, a beautiful woman. And that's when boys who were making fun of you, they all of a sudden would sexualize you. They would all of a sudden like, oh my god, you're so pretty now. You're so blah blah blah. Your DM would be filled with boys thirsting over you. But then, girls are fucking slick. Because, you know, we get the boys. We finally get the boys, but the girls hate that for us because it's usually their crush, their boyfriends, their potential husbands, whatever lah. Guys that they like who like us, and they would like make fun of us in front of them. They would say things like, "Oh my god, he's a man. You like him? Are you gay?" They would say something like that in front of the guys to give them some sort of like superiority. So like be prepared, that's gonna happen. I'm not sure how do we change that, but that happens, especially when you're in Malaysia. So since we're in the topic of boys, bising gitu anjing. Okay, so since we're in the topic of boys, I don't know, I cannot really talk about boys that much because I've never been in a relationship. So again, there are a lot of negative stereotypes that revolves around being transgender. And part of it is that people would instantly think you have done some sort of sex work in the past. Again, there's nothing wrong with being a sex worker. I feel like people gotta do what they gotta do in order to put food on the table, right? Like for example, if I were to be in a Grab in Malaysia, heading somewhere, they would ask me like, kamu tidak kerja kan? Then I would say lah, oh, saya masih sekolah. They would be super shocked. They would be like, eh, kau sekolah kah? Then I say, yeah, I go to school. Kenapa? Tidak tahu pula orang macam kau ni boleh pergi sekolah. Dia begitu. Dia cakap begitu sama aku di muka saya. What do you mean? I asked. And then he was like, oh, tidak. Saya salah angkat batu, dia bilang. So, begitulah. So, I guess for me, that's it. But I think there are a lot more things to discuss. But because like I haven't been in Malaysia for a while now, those are the only things that I could like remember on top of my head. And then also like I did this video on a whim. So again, if you're trans or if you're anyone in fact, if you have any, I don't know, experiences that you guys want to share, feel free to share below in the comments. I would love to read all of them. I would love to like learn about your experiences because like why not? Let's make it an open forum, you all. So yeah, thank you for watching and I hope that I could meet y'all again. Take care.